Do we have a chip on our shoulder? A comment on a recent episode got me thinking. The stylist said that one of the reasons stylists constantly talk about pricing, income, and what we charge is because we're always having to remind people that we are a legitimate profession. When I think back to my journey, beauty school wasn't necessarily the original plan, not because I didn't see it as an option, but because I was guided away from it. But when I became a single young mom, beauty school kind of was brought up more like a backup plan. My mom and my son's grandma, who also happened to be my hairdresser, kind of encouraged me to do it. Now, to be fair, I had thought about beauty school prior to, but I had actually been told by my guidance counselor and many of the adults in my life that if I wanted to be successful in life or have a real career, I needed to go to college. Fast forward, I'm a single mom, I get encouraged, I enroll. As suspected, I fell in love with it. But while I was discovering my love for it, a lot of the people around me were obviously headed to college and doing the traditional successful route. And I do remember feeling this kind of specific energy from adults and even from my peers. You know the one. The oh, that's too bad. Or what are you really gonna do? What's your real job and your plan? And then, of course, you get all the beauty school dropout jokes and all that. Now, hearing that at 19 is obviously quite a brutal punch. And of course, there was a part of me that maybe internalized a little bit of that, wondering if maybe they were right. There was another part of me, my mother's side, that luckily raised me to be such a delusional person from birth. Mom is the kind of person that we grew up hearing that we could do anything we possibly wanted if we just put the effort and work into it. Most importantly, she always taught us that knowledge was one of those things that you should always seek to gain because nobody can take it from you once you have it. So while everybody else was really looking at beauty school and seeing limitations, I remember thinking, maybe they just lack vision to see what this could become. My chip on my shoulder wasn't so much like, I'll show you how much money I can make, I'll show you. My chip on my shoulder was more of a watch me. Watch me build something. Watch me create a career. Watch me support my family. Watch me prove that success doesn't come packaged in one form of society's approval. But most importantly, I really wanted my son to grow up believing he was equally unstoppable and that he equally could be delusional and that the only person holding him back was him. I heard somebody recently say, nobody's here to save you, which also means nobody's here to stop you. That was that other part of me. And I'm really grateful for that because, I don't think kids or people in general learn confident from what we tell them. I think we learn from watching people do. But here's where this gets a little bit interesting is I actually think that that chip on my shoulder did serve me only for a while. Watch me got me through the hard days. Watch me got me through the self-doubt. It got me through people who didn't believe in me. But eventually I had to let that chip go because at some point, proving people wrong stops being the mission. Building something meaningful becomes the mission. And I wonder if, as an industry, we're struggling to make that transition. Because yes, I absolutely think our profession gets questioned way more than others. I do think that people underestimate the education. I do think the skill is insanely underestimated, as well as the responsibility that comes behind working with sharp tools and chemicals in proximity of people. I also don't think that people understand the intricacy that goes into the business side as well as the relationship side without allowing your emotions to entirely take over. There's quite the complexity to it that I think is underappreciated. There's a high level of expertise and professionalism that falls in what we do. And as much as I hate to say it, I think we unintentionally keep that narrative of them not valuing it alive. Hear me out. When was the last time you saw a lawyer make a reel explaining why they deserve their fee? When was the last time you saw a doctor post 10 slides explaining why their appointment costs what it costs? When was the last time you saw an electrician post a video breaking down every overhead expense to justify their invoice or their years of training? They don't. And it's not necessarily because people aren't questioning it. It's because they aren't constantly defending their value. They demonstrate it with their expertise, with their diagnosis, with their plan. And if I'm starting to ruffle your feathers with this one, I'm not saying don't talk about business, don't educate your clients, don't discuss pricing, don't teach others, start gatekeeping. What I'm saying is there's a difference between explaining value and defending value. If we're educating each other, fair. If you're having to fight your client and it's coming from a place of defensiveness rather than confidence, then we have a situation because one's coming from expertise and confidence and one's coming from a wound. We talked about this already, but when I see stylists posting, do you know how much color costs? How expensive rent is? Do you know how much education costs? I can't help but feel like we're setting ourselves back. You're not wrong. All of those things are true. Clients don't pay you because your overhead is expensive. Clients pay you because they value you and they see that you're worth it. You're worth it because you're a problem solver. You're worth it because you create outcomes and manage expectations like no one else can. You're worth it because you help them feel like themselves and see a part of them that others don't. You're worth it because you possess knowledge that they don't. And you're worth it because you have that expertise. Remember, price is what you pay, value is what you get. That's the conversation I wish we had more often. Stop with the color bowl, rent, salon cost, all of that. Start talking about your value. Start delivering the expertise. Start delivering and talking about the transformation, showing up with the professionalism. When professionalism enters the chat, that's when value increases. I challenge you to think about it. When you really reflect on our industry, can you agree that maybe we've gotten a little bit complacent? Not everybody, but enough of us. And one of my favorite business quotes is success breeds complacency. Complacency breeds failure. Only the paranoid survive. And I'm not saying be paranoid, be anxious, be any of that. I want you to dig deeper into what that quote says because I should stay vigilant. Vigilant about our standards, vigilant about our communication, about how we represent ourselves and how we represent each other, because that's how we're going to continue that growth. Because if we're searching for the respect of established professions, we have to start acting like established professions. Professionalism doesn't spend their career arguing for legitimacy. They spend their careers demonstrating it. And that takes consistency, that takes accountability, and that showcases itself in the way that you show up regularly. So as a whole, I wonder, should we stop asking, how do we convince people that this is a real profession? And rather approach it thinking, why are we still trying to convince them? At some point, the work, the energy, and the presence should speak for itself. And in my perspective, that's where the industry's next evolution lives. Not in proving we're professionals, but simply being a professional. The older I get, the less interested I am in proving people wrong, and the more interested I am in being so good they figure it out on their own. So what do you think? Do we still have a chip on our shoulder as an industry? Is that chip actually the thing maybe holding us back from moving and leaving this industry better than we found it? Thank you so much to the original gal that commented this. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button to keep these conversations going. And I will see you next time when we have another conversation that's not about a blow dryer.